Today has been a rough one. Airbnb took some money from me, blocked one of my calendars for a while, and wasted hours of my day with them on the phone trying to get it resolved. And there's a lot to be said and a lot to learn from this. I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. I'm going to teach you all about Airbnb's resolution system from the inside, how they take your money, how they give it back, and what you can do to protect yourself from losing money because of Airbnb, and how you run your business. Let's jump into it. How do I even explain this one? So I've been out of town, right? I've been out of country. I have multiple people that I put in charge of my Airbnb business. And so some people are communicating with guests through the Airbnb platform. Some of these people are brand new, so they don't know everything. And because of that, we learned something extremely useful. Few things. Airbnb can see if you read your messages. So if they send you a message, you better respond. One other thing we did wrong here is we haven't clearly defined who takes lead on things, and then something gets left where like they're holding the bag. Let me tell you about what happened. So Airbnb got contacted from a guest who was not happy about how well we cleaned an apartment in Houston. So they showed up, the inside of the microwave was dirty. That was our cleaner's fault. The trap under the stove, you know, like where some people leave their cookie sheets, the trap under the stove had crumbs in it, and that was that. And I believe the inside of the refrigerator also had like hard water stains from somebody left vegetables and left water-based smudges or something. So we did not clean the inside of appliances appropriately, and the guest was pretty picky about their cleaning, and they wanted us to fix it. So the following morning, we sent a cleaner to go clean again, and they wanted a full refund. They had like a week-long stay. This is a 3-bedroom property, by the way, and it's a very small family, so they just booked. Maybe they felt like they overpaid because we charge for the fact that the place can house like 14 or 15 people. We charge accordingly. So they paid what somebody else would normally pay, like as a larger group. So it's like a family of 3 or 4, and they want a full refund. They want to move. Because they weren't satisfied with the cleaning. Well, according to Airbnb's policy, hosts get an opportunity to fix it. So we, of course, immediately sent a cleaner to go fix the problem. And then we even offered to refund them their cleaning fee. So I tell my cleaner, we can refund their cleaning fee and we can clean again. That's what we can do. But we cannot let them cancel penalty-free. Demi, one of our new managers for the company, was unavailable. She was planned out of pocket. We knew that. I was about to be unavailable because of a flight, and so there's going to be a window of time that neither of us were available. So we have a new gentleman, his name's Kelvin. He's what we call a reservations coordinator position. It's his job to watch the Airbnb platform, keep a high response time, make sure all guests get responded to. But we never talked about the fact that Airbnb might send a message. And so this is where we had a training gap. And he did not know how to handle the message, so he did not respond to Airbnb because he didn't want to say the wrong thing in this case. So the message came from the guest says, I want to cancel. I'm not happy with my stay. The host won't cancel, and we want out, right? So then Airbnb tries to contact us through our CoHost account. Now here's the next thing. So if you have an admin account and a CoHost account, if that CoHost account is a primary CoHost account, if somebody opens up a resolution, the resolution will get opened up through that primary CoHost account. Okay? That means that the admin account is not going to be able to communicate regarding any resolution issues with Airbnb. You'll have to authenticate through the CoHost account, right? So in our case, the CoHost account has different phone numbers, which means they're not going to call me, the admin, I've set my business up to be automated, but Demi's not available. So they can't call Demi, and we don't have anybody else's phone number for them to just at any point in time call. So they can't get a hold of Demi by phone. They send messages, and Kelvin doesn't know how to respond to Airbnb, like saying, we're trying to get a hold of you. So he's trying to get instruction from Demi or me, but I'm not available either. So he doesn't respond. Airbnb says you have to respond within, a period of time, an undisclosed period of time, but hey, we need to hear from you, otherwise we're going to have to make a resolution. So while I'm in the air, we're talking less than 5 hours total from the first message to the resolution. They say, hey, since we haven't been able to get a hold of you, we've refunded the guest 100% of their stay. and your calendar's been blocked, and you're getting marked as a host cancellation. Oof. And you guys know that getting a host cancellation, automatic, no superhost anymore, done. Plus, our 3-bedroom property has the calendar blocked for the next week, so we can't get any new guests. We're just going to lose money. And then, of course, the guests got a 100% refund, including the days that they stayed. What a mess. So I attempt to reach out to Airbnb, but Airbnb is like, we can't talk to you about this, right? Because you're not the host. I'm like, my account is the admin account. They're like, sorry, we don't see your account. So legitimately, the resolutions teams at Airbnb, they only see the primary co-host account if it's listed as primary, right? The admin account disappears on the administration side. So when Airbnb is looking for your stuff, like if they're going through the primary co-host account, they cannot see the admin account. So it's almost like I don't exist, or I'm a fraud risk, or they don't believe me. It was really, really weird. In order to be seen, I removed the primary co-host and I moved it down to secondary co-host, right? So the admin became the primary and then the co-host became secondary. So they could see me. They're like, cool, we can see you now. But because the resolution was instantiated through the primary co-host account, we still can't talk to you. You're going to have to call us through the primary co-host account because that was the account that originally started this resolution. So I had to, instead of using my app, I had to log in through a browser. I had to go in, I had to send a message to the support team and say, please call me at this phone number in order to get a phone call from them. So what can you learn from this? If you have a primary co-host account like me and there's a guest issue, be prepared that Airbnb is going to open up a ticket and that ticket will only be accessible by your primary co-host account or by the primary host account. So if the admin's not the primary, that's going to be an issue. So what you can do is you can structure it like this. You can leave your admin as the primary, but then state that if you need to get a hold of somebody, here's phone numbers, and you leave phone numbers for your team on your primary account, right? The only problem then is that if Airbnb tries to call you the admin ever, they're always going to start by trying to call your team first. And you can leave your phone number as a second phone number, and then they'll try that one after the first one fails. But the thing is by doing this, every guest will always have your phone number, and if you operate at scale like I do, you could get a lot of phone calls for very small, things that they should be reading their house rules for, their house manual for. And that's obviously why we pay somebody by the hour to field the Airbnb app, is to always be there to handle those inbound calls. Another thing that you can do is you can leave a second phone number on the primary host account, right? You can make the co-host the primary, and then have a second phone number, or even the main phone number, where it's like a switchboard. Like Verizon does this. It's $25 for an extra phone line, and you can just almost like Magic Jacket, and you can program it that this time of the day to this time of the day, it goes to this phone number, and then this time of the day to this time of the day, it goes to another one, so it can rotate. And you can have it so that phone number comes to you when you're available, right? But in this case, it's also not a guaranteed fix because you're not always available, so Airbnb would have tried to call, and if it did not route to my phone number at the time, I still would have failed on this. But I was in the air anyway. So at this point, nobody got a phone call. So in this case, when they tried to call Demi and she wasn't available, it ended there. So if you did have that Magic Jack phone number style thing through either Verizon or anyone else, we could have routed it to Kelvin, a reservations coordinator. He would have picked up the phone and said, hey, I'm new. Let me try to figure this out. And it would have bought us a little bit more time. So perhaps do one of those phone lines where you can kind of route it. The next one is do not read Airbnb's messages and not respond, because they said on the phone today the only reason why they resolved it in the timeline that they did, the reason why they only gave us a few hours, is because they saw that we read the messages and did not respond. So they ruled against us because it's like we did something wrong. That was a learning experience for us there. And 3, document everything in the Airbnb app, like absolutely everything. So don't call the guests directly or send them text messages directly, because Airbnb is going to look at like your conversations with guests and try to make the resolutions that way. And if it looks like you're not being communicative, then there's your problem. So to resolve this, you'll have to communicate through the primary host account. And I did get them to open up my calendar again, and they did pay me for the days that the guests stayed, but they can't reverse the fact that they gave me a host cancellation. So I got to eat that one. And so we have multiple Airbnb accounts, so one of my accounts cannot be co-host for a period of time. So I'm not exactly happy about that. So learn from my mistakes. Make sure that anybody who works for your company understands exactly what it is that they have to do. We now told Kelvin that he responds to every single message. Even if he doesn't know the answer, he responds and says, "Hi, I don't know the answer." And this increases your response time to guests, which increases your SEO. And then, of course, also, we never have the problem with the Airbnb thinking we're ignoring them, because that's the last thing I want, is for Airbnb to feel ignored, right? And in this case, we do have too many people managing our business at time to time, and that's why there's that risk of people not knowing when they're lead. The larger your organization gets, and the more people share roles, the easier it is for somebody to be confused on whether or not it was their responsibility at this point in time. And sometimes when you have like 3 go-getters, they'll all jump on the same bone at the same time, and they'll learn the hard way that somebody else is going to get it. So eventually 2 back off, or maybe all 3 eventually back off. So you think that hiring go-getters is your fix, but it's really not. You still need to clearly define who takes lead, because you want to retain that aggressive go-getter, I love to fix problems mentality. You don't want them stepping on each other's toes, though, because then that'll train them to stop being the go-getter, right? So hire good go-getter people, but define when somebody should be taking the lead over certain tasks, and be explicit on exactly what those tasks require, and you'll never have to deal with this the way that I just did. So save yourself some money. If you have any questions, or you have feedback, if any of you have had similar experiences like this, and you have any tips for the audience on how to deal with Airbnb, I'm sure plenty of you hosts have had long conversations with Airbnb. Leave it in the comments. Tell us your stories. I would love to read them, and I know other hosts would light years worth of information moving forward in their businesses, because some of us learn the hard way. Not all of us have to. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for watching Airbnb Automated, and I will see you on the other side.